what's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. As the preview show for the Cup final at Hampden on Saturday against Rangers. Chris is back with us, as he often is, to look ahead to these derbies. Chris, it's the showpiece game at the end of the season. We're coming off the high of winning the league title. How do you feel going into this one at the weekend?
Well, just to reflect back on, the season, it was, an unbelievable finish to the season from the team. 8 wins from our final 9 games. That's the performance of champions. And I fully expect that we'll carry that momentum into the weekend, Paul. Our form has obviously been excellent. We have essentially no injury worries that we are aware of. Brendan Rodgers essentially has his first 11 he can pick from on a very strong bench, whereas Rangers are struggling to get players that they would want to have in their team, either fit enough to make the bench or potentially fit enough to play 60, maybe 70 minutes if they're lucky. So we couldn't really be in a better place. But as we all know, cup finals are form really, I think, does kind of go out of the window, especially with these one game winner take all formats. I mean, look, going into the Aberdeen semi-final, we were probably expecting that we should win that game comfortably, but we defended poorly on the day. Aberdeen played well, caused us a lot of problems, particularly at the back post, and that game went all the way to penalty kicks. So you never really know what you're going to get. But in terms of going into the game, I don't think we could be in a better place in terms of squad health, form, and of course confidence, probably being at an all-time high, because I think we've played our best football in the last 4 games in particular. Pockets of the St Mirren game aside, and probably a portion of the Dundee game, but the other games against Hearts and Rangers and Kilmarnock, we were absolutely superb. And as a fan, you can't really ask for much more in terms of your preparation for a significant showpiece cup final.
Yeah, I agree. And I think just to touch on the the cliche there, it's the oldest cliche in the book, isn't it, that form goes out the window. And I think often in these derbies in recent years, it's actually stuck to form. We've gone in a lot of times in good form, and more often than not, we've come out on top. But I think you're right. I think a cup tie is different. A cup final is certainly different. There's nothing to lose. There's no draw in the game. There's no context of a league table to think about. And I think that's notable because you think about the approach Rangers have had recently. They've really struggled against us. I think in each game under Clement, they've been 2-0 down against us. And in some of those games, they've found a way to play better after going 2-0 down, and they've come at us and got back in the game, certainly in that 3-3 game at Ibrox. But they haven't really successfully put us under pressure from the first whistle this season. And so how do you think they'll approach? Do you think they will approach this a bit more aggressively, play with maybe a bit more freedom and try and press us up the pitch? Because that's key for us. And what I want to link it to is one of the team selection choices for Brendan Rodgers is who plays up front. Is it Kyogo or is it Idah? And when we went to Rugby Park, the game we won the league last week, he played Idah because he thought Kilmarnock have been aggressive at coming to presses at Rugby Park. And Idah was brilliant. He gave us that out ball where we could just go into his feet and he linked the game brilliantly. So where do you stand on that? Do you think Rangers will be more attacking than they have been in recent meetings against them?
Paul, that's a fantastic question, and I'm not sure if I know the answer, but I'll do my best. I find it hard to believe that Rangers will be more aggressive in their press because I'm just not sure they've got the match fit personnel to be able to do that in the middle of the park. And I think that's where the press really needs to happen, right? Is from the front to the back. If you think Dessers isn't really known for his pressing high up the park, I'm not saying that he can't do it. And I think Clement would be foolish not to play Cantwell ahead of Lawrence. I think every Rangers fan is hoping that they see Cantwell, or TikTok Todd, as we love to refer to him, in the starting 11. But I think I'm just not sure Rangers can play with that kind of press and be effective against us. I mean, and also the games we've played against them this year, their approach has been the same every time. They don't have an identity as a football club and as a team. They just don't have one. They love the long diagonal ball, or they love the ball down the channel. And if Sima is obviously able to play any part in the game, he will certainly carry a threat down Greg Taylor's side of the park. But I'm just not sure, Paul, that they are going to be able to do that. And I also think that that could be a significant problem for them. If they leave pockets of space for O'Reilly and Hatate, because we get through that counter press really quickly, we're going to cause them no end of trouble through the middle of the park and down the wide channels where Idah and Forrest of recent have just been tremendous in every facet of their game, both in goals, delivery into the box, and just bringing the front six to have a really good, cohesive, attacking, and potent, approach to the game. So I think that could be very damaging for Rangers if they choose to do that. And history just leads me to believe that they're not going to approach the game any differently. Now, let's just say hypothetically, Paul, that they do that. I think Kyogo has to start, and I'll tell you why. His record against Rangers, number one, and 1A right behind that is his record in semi-finals and cup finals. He has been absolutely lethal in these types of games. A double in the League Cup final last year against Rangers, scored in the Scottish Cup final, against Inverness Cali Thistle. He's just a proven goal scorer. And I feel, this is just my personal opinion, that now that we've got a settled 11 and the team is really functioning the way Brendan Rodgers wants it to play, I think you'll go with Kyogo. But we have the luxury that if, say, it's not working after 45, 60 minutes because Rangers do decide to be a bit more aggressive in their press, then the option of having Idah for the rest of the 90 minutes and potentially extra time is a huge plus for us, because you're not wrong. He was fantastic against St Mirren, allowing us to play through that press.
Kilmarnock,
And
yep.
Kilmarnock, and we just absolutely tore them to shreds as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think that flexibility that we've got is a huge string to our bow, and Brendan Rodgers has used it wisely recently. We've got a lot of big goals out of Idah, and there's a very strong argument to be made that we wouldn't be sitting here as league champions again without the influence of Idah since he arrived in January. But as you say, it's really hard to discount Kyogo in these games, not just against Rangers, but also at Hampden. He's got a brilliant record, and he's a big game player. You always feel like he's going to deliver in these games. I think you make a good point in terms of Rangers coming to presses. You can make a case why they would do that, because what they've been doing up to this point isn't working for them. But I think you're right. Whether they've got the ability and the quality to do that properly, and they want to take that risk, because we've got the players who can play through them at speed on that big Hampden pitch if they do get it wrong. So, look, I would go with Kyogo as well. I know that people won't be surprised to hear that, but I think he does a brilliant option for us. And as I say, it gives us that flexibility depending on how the game is set up. As you say, after the hour mark, Brendan Rodgers has that ability to change it. In terms of the psychology of this game, Chris, we always talk about the mentality needed in these fixtures, but I think the psychology for us, after having climbed the mountain, we've won the league title. That was the big one that everybody wanted, and we've come out on top again. There has been a party in the last 7 days. I know the players enjoyed it on Wednesday night, and then we had Trophy Day on Saturday as well. So do you think maybe a point of caution or danger for us is maybe that psychological dump from going from the high of winning the league and really the marathon of the league season being finished and us having won it, to then still having this one game to play where we still need to be at a high level to go and deliver?
I would say under normal circumstances, I might be very wary of that drop off, Paul, particularly from a psychological perspective. But I'll tell you why I'm not, for two reasons. Number one, Brendan Rodgers, right? He's just not going to allow the players to have anything but a laser focus in training this week, in our preparation, and you can be certain that how we have hurt Rangers in the 4 games in which we've played them this year will be of a paramount focus in the video review and the preparation tactically. And secondary to that will be where Rangers have caused us a few issues in the games this year. He will be laser focused on that as well. The other reason, and I think sometimes things are just written, the story is written, and we wrote our own story this year as Celtic FC have tagged and created their wonderful 6.5 minute video. But it's Joe Hart. Joe Hart's last game, going out in a cup final. I just feel like the added motivation, the way the team is going to probably rally and feel galvanized around Joe Hart, I think is another factor that leads me to believe we'll be nothing but laser focused going into this game, Paul, with a view to sending Big Joe off into the sunset with a league and cup double, and with our absolute best wishes. Like, I've absolutely grown to love Joe Hart. He has fundamentally changed my opinion of him. He gets the club. He gets us as supporters. He understands the ethos of the club. He's just been an unbelievable servant for the 3 years, and I consider us extremely fortunate that Ange Postecoglou made that phone call, Joe Hart agreed, and we've been the benefactors of 3 wonderful years. And it's for all those reasons, Paul, that I just feel like we will be prepared, and we've got momentum on our side, and it's a cup final. I have no doubt there will be some up and down moments, and there may well be shifts of momentum within the game. But if we play our best, we will win. It's that simple for me.
Yeah, just on Joe Hart there. This wasn't on my agenda to talk about, but those scenes on Saturday were absolutely brilliant, weren't they? I mean, football's fragile, and you think about how this season was going at one point, when Joe Hart and the team were having dips in form and some below par performances, and you think, if you play the season 100 times over, they don't all end like that. And I thought it was such a fitting, brilliant way for Joe Hart to bow out at Celtic Park in his last competitive match. The scenes, the banner, the scenes lifting the trophy at the end as well, brilliant, and great to hear him talk about how much that meant to him. I think he said it's like one of his proudest days as a football player.
Yeah.
And he's had a great career, but to see how much the Celtic supporters see how much he means to us, for what he's given in the last 3 years, it was absolutely brilliant. On the flip side of that, my last question about psychology, you have, in the positive sense for us, we're in good form. We have just won the league. We should be really high in confidence. That should put a huge spring in our step as well. And you've got to think that the psychology and the energy in the training ground this week is really good, because the players have come off the back of that. They've achieved something huge together. And like you say, Joe Hart is very highly thought of by his teammates, and I think they will be all pushing together for that to give him the best send-off possible on Saturday. We mentioned already the Idah or Kyogo debate. Do you think there's any other areas of the team, comparing back to obviously the last derby at Celtic Park, because the game against St Mirren, the manager obviously made 5 or 6 changes to what you'd consider full strength. Do you think there's any other positions up for debate to that team that started the last derby?
Yeah, this might be the shortest answer to questions we discussed today, Paul, but no, there's just none. I mean, barring any, unforeseen injuries on the training pitch this week, the team, the 11, will be the exact same 11 that played the last derby game at Celtic Park. I mean, it just has to be. Number one, because I do believe right now that's our strongest 11. And number two, that team has been getting the job done comprehensively. In a combination of a few players coming in and out over the last 9 games, where we've won 8 and drawn 1, because obviously, Idah was out for a little bit, and Forrest wasn't fully back in the team until maybe about a month ago. But the team picks itself, Paul, and I could understand why some people might make an argument for Adam Idah to play, but Kyogo has earned the right, being a big game player that thrives in big moments, to deserve to start the game. And Obviously, how the game plays out, we will see. But I don't think, put it this way, we don't have the same lineup concerns as our neighbours across the city. I mean, they've got some significant players trying to get fit, or potentially giving Clement some headaches. But I would much rather we are in the position that we are with a very healthy first 11 and a very strong bench that can see the game through. Or if we have to go to extra time, then so be it.
Yeah, you mentioned James Forrest there. He's in the 28-man squad for Scotland. I know you'll be keeping an eye on the Euros in the summer, but he deserves that, doesn't he, for what he's brought to the team just in the last month or two. And I think the experience as well. I think given I mean, we're not here to talk about the Scotland squad, but I think given the options available for Steve Clarke, there's no many better in the attacking area than James Forrest, is there?
No, and he's, I watched a little clip there of Steve Clarke today just talking about how James Forrest is such an amazing example to young players. Like, you're not in the team, you're not making the bench, you've gone through a couple injury problems, but you continue to work hard, you put your head down, you get your manager's attention, and when you get your chance, you take it. I mean, look, I don't want to wax lyrical too much about Jamesy, but honestly, we are so fortunate to have had two players at the club that have played their entire career at Celtic in both McGregor and James Forrest, and their contributions are absolutely massive. If we win the cup final, James Forrest will be, I think, guys, either tied or one more trophy
He'll be
behind.
one behind Bobby
Right,
Reynolds.
he'll be, yes, so he'll go from 23 to 24 major honours. That's just unbelievable. And he's scored over 100 goals for the club. He's had over 100 assists. He's scored in every single season he has played for Celtic. Like, it's just an unbelievable resume that he puts together. And look, sometimes we throw club greats and legends of the club around sparingly, but I do genuinely think you could make a real argument for James Forrest when he retires that he really should go down in one of those categories, because the statistics and his performance, for me, back it up. And to be doing what he's doing at 32 years of age, it's just unbelievable. Like, I think he's still got more to give, and I feel very fortunate that we've had such a talented player, and I'm really happy for him and Anthony Ralston as well for making the Scotland squad. I mean, I think with
Greg Taylor and Callum McGregor as well, of course. But
yeah, absolutely, right. And I just think it's really great for all of them to be included, and we'll see what role they each have to play. I mean, we know McGregor's going to play every game, every minute, assuming he's fit. So, but yeah, fantastic for those lads, and really happy for James Forrest. I think it's phenomenal just to see how good, and also you can make an argument, where would we be without James in the last 5 weeks, Paul?
yeah,
And that would
absolutely
be
could.
a fair discussion to have.
Yeah, you absolutely could. It's so rare, isn't it, in football nowadays that you get players like James Forrest and Callum McGregor who are one club men, and I think Joe Hart even touched on that in his video, but his appreciation for the guys that have been there their whole careers. Obviously, we've got some younger, like Sir Alston and Welsh and stuff, but for guys like Callum and James that have been there their whole career, to see what it means to them and to see the standards that they set every day, I think that is really important for Celtic, but also extremely rare. The further and further football goes these days, it's very, very unique. So the pressure in this game, Chris, always a highly pressurised fixture. I think you can make a very good case for the pressure being off of us, and that's not to say that we wouldn't be gutted to lose the game, but we won the big one. Rangers didn't, and it wouldn't be the absolute end of the world for us if we were to come out on the wrong side of a tight game. But I think for Rangers, given the number of defeats they've taken against us this season, they haven't led against us at any point this season over 4 matches. Only that one draw and 3 defeats. The pressure on them and their manager in this game is huge.
I agree, and there's some very hallowed records are up for being tied as a result of this game, Paul. So if we win this game, we will be tied all-time Rangers and Celtic derby games. We will be dead level. If we win, we will also tie them for most major honours. They'll no longer have the mantra of most successful club in the world, even though their current club's been around since 2012. And we will also tie them for most league and cup doubles with 12. And I think there's also another record in there that will also tie. So, like, I do think the pressure is absolutely all on Rangers, and their fan base will certainly not be happy going into the summer with a number of records tumbling, as well as losing, another game to their fiercest rivals. So yeah, it definitely is. And also, I just think the way the games have played themselves out, like we should have won all 4 games. You could say that they're all by 1 goal, and Rangers had a man sent off in both, games at Celtic Park, but the gulf in quality is there for all to see. And like I said earlier, Paul, if we play to our best, we will win the game. It's that simple for me. And each derby's gone on this year, Paul, I'll continue to ask myself, well, is the team going to continue to show up? And I keep coming back to the man in charge, right? His record in Celtic Rangers games is unbelievable and undeniable. He gets the job done, right? And I think more impressive is the 4 games this year when, in his time through his 2 spells, Rangers have never been closer to us, if you like. And if you agree in that opinion, I personally don't think they're that close. I think we dropped off and we gave them an opportunity, and fair play to them for making a go of it. But when it really came down to it, with 9 games to go, we won 8, and we probably should have won the 9th at Ibrox.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting as well that we end up finishing 8 points clear after Clement going on and on and on and on and on about how they were 7 points behind when he took over. But there you go. That was a nice way to end the league season. It's sure to be a brilliant atmosphere, Chris, at Hampden. Absolutely buzzing for it. Hopefully we can cap the season off with another trophy, with another derby victory. I suppose the only thing left is for your prediction, which I think this season
I'm 4
has
for
been
4.
pretty accurate.
Yeah, I haven't
No
got the
pressure.
exact score lines always correct, but I have picked the results 4 for 4. So I mean, look, I've said it, so I'll back it up. I think it will be 3-1 Celtic. And I do believe, even if Rangers were to score first in the game, which I know hasn't happened, but it's possible, I just feel like we have more than enough, and our psychology is not, we're not going to panic if that situation was to happen. And I just feel like we have far more to offer, with our starting 11 and our bench strength, that we can overcome any obstacles. So I'll go for 3-1 Celtic, and I'll go wee Kyogo to bag 2 of the 3 goals. You heard it here first.
Brilliant. Let's hope so. Chris, thank you for your time. That's it for the preview show. I'll be back tomorrow, as always, with the starting 11 prediction, and then all of the reaction to the game on Saturday as well. So I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you for watching.